One STM employee was on her way to her friend's wedding. She was dressed like an ordinary young woman. There was no service car, no bodyguards. She was simply riding a motorcycle like any other girl. As she approached the town of Kashnebet, she saw a police checkpoint ahead. 3 or 4 officers were standing on the road, and in the center stood Inspector Prozanjit in uniform. He waved his baton and ordered the girl to stop. She pulled off the road and parked her motorcycle to the side. In a stern voice, the inspector asked, "Where are you going?" Calmly, the girl replied, "To Gej, I'm going to my friend's wedding." Inspector Prozanjit looked her up and down. The girl was 28 years old. Her name was Bernali Singh. Laughing, he said, "Oh, so you're going to eat and drink at your friend's wedding?" "Yes, but your father would have definitely worn a helmet." "Why didn't you?" "And you were riding too fast. You'll have to pay a fine." Inspector Prozanjit began pulling out his ticket book. Bernali realized that the inspector's true motives were different. This was just a pretext. She said, "Sir, I didn't break any laws." "Oh, madam, don't lecture us about the law," he snapped back. Throwing a glance at the constable beside him, the inspector looked at Bernali again. "We should teach her a lesson." Suddenly he struck Bernali hard across the cheek. "Too many questions, huh? When the police speak, you listen quietly." Bernali's head spun, but she quickly composed herself. Anger flared in her eyes. The checkpoint chief, Inspector Prozanjit, burst out laughing. "Still not calm? I know how to put girls like you in your place. You'll learn your lesson now." The constable stepped forward. "Sir, let's take her to the station and we'll have a proper talk with her there. Then she'll understand how to speak to the police." One of the constables grabbed Bernali by the arm. "Come on, get in the car." Bernali jerked her arm away sharply. "Don't you dare touch me or the consequences will be serious." The inspector grew even angrier. "Look at her, so defiant." Another constable seized Bernali Singh by the hair and tried to drag her forcefully toward the car. Bernali cried out in pain, but she did not reveal her true identity. She watched in silence, realizing just how low such men could sink. Then, out of rage, one of the officers smashed her motorcycle with a stick and shouted, "Pretending to be holy, are you? We'll have some fun with you, turn you into a doll to play with." At that moment, Bernali Singh fully understood what they wanted and how far they were willing to go. Fury burned in Inspector Prozanjit's eyes. "I've seen plenty of clever ones like you," he said. "So today you want to challenge the police? Fine, let's see what happens. We'll teach you at the station." Bernali Singh still remained silent. She did not reveal who she really was. She wanted to see just how far they would go in their arrogance and lawlessness. Inspector Prozanjit grew more and more irritated. Before him stood a woman with a delicate, beautiful cheek, the same cheek he had just struck, her hair disheveled from being pulled, dragged along the ground, yet she stood motionless like a statue, without shouting or crying. The inspector thought to himself, "Once we reach the station, I'll figure out how to deal with this stubborn woman." It was not just anger now, it was burning rage. The post chief smirked again. "Well, look at that. She's finally starting to talk. Fine, let's go to the station, we'll see how that tongue of yours works there." When they entered the station, the inspector shouted, "Hey, where's the tea and water? Bring it quickly. We have a special guest today." Bernali still said nothing. She continued to look around the walls of the station, observing how the innocent were treated here, people who wouldn't even dare to utter a sound. Then one of the constables leaned toward Inspector Prozanjit and whispered, "What's this all about, sir?" The inspector replied carelessly, "What's there to write? Speeding without a helmet. Write whatever you want. The main thing is to humiliate her so she won't dare act smart again." Bernali heard every word, but her eyes remained silent. It was as if she was waiting for all their filth to spill out of their own mouths. Inspector Prozanjit sat down on a chair, twisted a pen between his fingers, looked up at Bernali and asked, "Name? Where do you live? Whose daughter are you?" Bernali said nothing. The inspector repeated, "Didn't you hear me? Tell me your name." Bernali stood still like a stone statue. Then the inspector slammed his hand on the table with all his strength. The crash echoed through the entire station as he shouted, "Are you deaf? Tell me your name. Barnali slowly turned her face and replied, Sumita Sharma. The inspector sneered. So, clever girl used to lying, huh? Just remember, smart tricks will cost you dearly. Make one mistake and you won't even have time to regret it. Barnali Singh was roughly thrown into a filthy cell where 2 other women were already imprisoned. Sister, what did they lock you up for? One of them asked. Barnali barely smiled, saying nothing, just observing how rotten this world had become. If even an SDO is jailed without cause, imagine what happens to ordinary people, she thought. Barnali huddled in the corner of the dark cell, watching, listening, and understanding every move. Meanwhile, Inspector Prosanjit quickly fabricated a false report. Charge her with theft and extortion, he ordered. He slammed a file shut. But sir, there's no evidence, the constable said, surprised. The inspector laughed. Here, evidence isn't brought, it's created. After a while, a constable rushed in and struck Barnali hard on the shoulder. Just as Inspector Prosanjit raised his hand for another blow, a commanding voice echoed from the doorway. Stop. Everyone turned. At the door stood Senior Inspector Sanjay Bara, a man with a slightly better reputation than the rest. He looked around, saw the girl's condition, and a frown appeared on his forehead. What's going on here? He demanded. Prosanjit, smiling, replied. Nothing, sir. Just a street woman who thinks too highly of herself. We're teaching her some manners. Sanjay looked intently at Barnali. Her composure was unlike that of an ordinary woman. What's the charge? He asked. Prosanjit's voice trembled slightly. Sir, she was rude during inspection. Sanjay grew cautious and turned to Barnali. What's your name? He asked. She stayed silent. Prosanjit laughed. See, sir? Won't even give her name. Sanjay immediately became more alert. He ordered the constable. Put her in solitary confinement. Prosanjit was startled. But sir. Sanjay interrupted sharply. I'll personally oversee it. By his order, Barnali was placed in an even filthier, darker cell. She looked around, a broken table in the corner and beside it a rusted metal rod. Here, up close, she saw the system for what it truly was, its corruption, its decay. Each passing moment made one truth clearer. The law here is nothing but empty paper. Suddenly a constable ran in. Sir. There's a big car outside. Prosanjit flinched. What kind of car? Sir, a government one. He rushed outside, peeked into the car, and his eyes widened in horror. He returned trembling. Sir, what is it? Who's arrived? It's the commissioner. Prosanjit's face went pale. Senior Inspector Sanjay Verma also tensed up. The matter had now reached the very top. The commissioner entered the station. Anger blazed in his eyes as he fixed a piercing stare on Prosanjit. Inspector Prosanjit, what kind of circus have you created here? Prosanjit hesitated. Nothing, sir, just a trivial matter. The commissioner picked up the file from the desk, read it carefully with a frown, then looked toward the cell. Who's that? Prosanjit answered quickly. A fraud and deceit case, sir. We have evidence. What evidence? The commissioner demanded. Now Prosanjit completely lost his composure. The commissioner turned directly to the woman and asked, What is your name? For the first time, Barnali gave a faint smile and said, SDO Barnali Singh. Silence filled the entire station. Every face turned pale. Prosanjit's hands and legs trembled, and the others stood frozen in shock. The ground seemed to vanish beneath Prosanjit's feet. The woman he had treated like a criminal, dragged by the hair, beaten, and humiliated, turned out to be the very officer who oversaw the law for the entire district. She was no ordinary woman, she was that very SDO Barnali Singh. As soon as the truth came out, panic swept through the station. The constables froze in terror. The commissioner spun toward the inspector. Prosanjit. How dare you falsify charges against a superior officer? Prosanjit tried to speak, but before he could, Senior Inspector Sanjay Verma shouted, Sir, I told you this case wasn't ordinary. Now Prosanjit was alone. Then Barnali Singh spoke firmly and openly for the first time. Prosanjit, you are hereby dismissed. I confirm your immediate disqualification and the initiation of a criminal case against you." Prasenjit couldn't believe what was happening. He gasped for air. The other policeman turned away. Sanjay Verma shouted, "Guard! Take him to the isolation cell." But Prasenjit smirked and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "Just a minute, madam. Look at this first, then do whatever you wish." He held up the document, and both the commissioner and Bernali Singh glanced at it. Prasenjit declared, "This is my transfer order. I was officially transferred 3 days ago, so you can't dismiss me." Silence fell. Bernali took the paper. The commissioner looked suspiciously at Senior Inspector Verma. "Check if it's genuine." Sanjay checked the digital records and then announced, "Sir, it's correct. But the new inspector hasn't taken charge yet. That means he's still officially responsible, and all the violations fall on his conscience. Now nothing can save him." Bernali Singh looked straight into Prasenjit's eyes. "Your new home will be the same place you sent others to." The commissioner nodded in agreement. 2 constables stepped toward Prasenjit, but once again he played his last card. "I'm not alone," he said. "Do you really think I'm the only one guilty here?" He pointed at the other policemen. "They're all my accomplices, even the higher-ups are involved." Several officers turned pale. Senior Inspector Sanjay Verma began scanning each face carefully, realizing the gravity of the situation. Bernali Singh turned her gaze toward the commissioner. "This entire station needs to be cleaned out," Bernali said firmly. "No one will go unpunished." The commissioner replied, "As you command, madam. Now everyone will answer, one by one." After those words, it was as if a lightning bolt struck the air inside the station. Outside, several journalists were already gathered, sensing that something serious was happening inside. As soon as they learned that the entire police station had been called in under emergency orders, they immediately spread the news through their phones. A shining car pulled up to the building. The door opened, and out stepped the SP himself. He looked around. The faces of all the officers turned pale. Everyone stood to the side in silence. The SP asked coldly, "How long has this kind of show been going on here?" Neither the commissioner nor the station chief said a word. At that moment, Bernali Singh looked him straight in the eyes. "Do you really think you'll get away that easily?" Sanjay Verma took out a folder and handed it to Bernali Singh. Inside was the complete dossier on the SP's own crimes. Bernali held the file up before him. "Here, look. This is the truth about your dirty deeds." Sweat appeared on the SP's forehead. Without hesitation, the commissioner shouted, "Arrest him. And arrest that other scoundrel too." The entire station was stunned. For the first time, someone had publicly challenged such a high-ranking officer. As soon as the SP was taken into custody, a storm swept across the entire district. The case reached all the way to Delhi. Even the chief minister was informed, and a direct order came from above: arrest everyone involved in the crimes. Within the next 2 days, more than 100 police officers, over 10 senior officials and several politicians across the district were detained. The atmosphere in the Kashnabet district changed beyond recognition. On every street corner, people were talking about one thing: the honesty and courage of SDO Bernali Singh, the woman who shook and awakened a rotten system. The government was infused with new energy and a renewed sense of justice. And most importantly, everyone understood. Now no one can escape justice. The case of Bernali Singh was closed. She had proven that if your intentions are truly pure, you can change an entire nation. If you watched the video to the end, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay with us.